How's it going, YouTube? Chase.actual here. In this video, we're going to be looking at how to launch applications with your app. So what I mean is maybe, we want to have a button to launch, to take a note, so we can press that and launch the built-in Notes app and so forth. This also works with most third-party apps. So to do this, we're going to be using URL schemes. And I have a link opened right here that I will put down in the description below. And this is updated for iOS 11 and has all of the URL codes that we are going to be using to actually launch the apps themselves. And they're nice numbered here. Again, this list will be down in the description below. Alright, starting off, we have a newly created Xcode project here. I've done absolutely nothing but just set it up. So we have a blank view controller. And what we're going to do is we're going to simply enough put two buttons in here, and each of these is going to launch a respective application. And for this demo, we're just going to use the Maps app, and we'll use the Watch app. Okay, so after we created our buttons, we're going to option click our corresponding viewcontroller.swift, and we'll create our outlets by control dragging these. We'll call this Maps button and call this Watch button. And lastly, for this, we will create our actions for them. So this will be our Maps pressed and our action Watch pressed. Okay, so let's concentrate back on our viewcontroller.swift. Now, how we are going to do this is we're going to create two functions in order to use this. One is actually going to call the other one, and so we'll technically only be calling one function and either one of these actions to launch the corresponding app. So our first function here, we are going to actually take a little different route than the normal Swift function, as we will be using some ObjectiveC content. So starting out with this function, we are going to say at ObjectiveC declaration attribute right here, and now everything else will be the same. So again, this function is just basically a filler function to make to make our main function work. Okay, so let's just put open URL or open underscore, and we'll say URL colon of type URL, open close brackets or curly braces, and we're just going to say return. Okay, now you don't really need to worry about this. We're just going to say, call this a helper for main launching function. Okay, now on to the meat of it. So this is going to be our function to launch an app. So we're just going to call it, aptly name it as launch app. And in this function, we're going to take in a string of the app name. Okay, so we're going to start this by creating a responder. So we're going to say var responder is equal to UI responder. We're going to optionally cast that, so question mark is equal to self as UI responder. Next, we're going to create a selector, so we're going to say let selector equal pound selector, and we're going to call this open URL function right there, just like so. Now, let's see, what is this going to? Oh, sorry, this should not be equal. This should be colon. Okay, so we've created a variable of type responder, of type UI responder rather, and we're setting it equal to self as UI responder. So right before there I had 2 equal signs. Okay, so we're good to go there. Next we're going to say while our responder is not equal to nil, so if when we have something to respond to, and also we're going to say if our responder exclamation dot responds to, and we'll call our selector, and we'll come also, or and our responder is not equal to self, open brace, close. Okay, and in here we are going to implement actually the method to launch the applications. So to do so, we are going to use a switch statement to change app to launch. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to switch our app that we send in here, open that as a function. Okay, in our first case, well, we're only going to have 2 here, so we're going to have map and watch. So we're going to say case, our first one is map, so we're going to say maps colon. Alright, and then we're going to type responder exclamation dot perform, and we're going to say selector comma with colon capital URL open parentheses string colon, and this is where we're going to type in the URL scheme. So I'm going to refer to this table right here, and we see that right here opens the native maps app is maps colon / so I'm just going to copy this here, return to Xcode, and I'm going to just paste this in there, and this is the URL that it'll launch. Okay, so next we're going to break that, so that's all we're going to do there. Next we have where our app is going to be equal to watch, and in this we're going to do the same thing right here, so I'm just going to copy and paste this, except we want our watch selector. So again, I'm going to refer to our page that's linked down in the description below. I'm going to find the watch app and just copy this URL scheme over and paste it in here just like that, and it's saying that our switch must be exhaustive, so we're going to have to break this, and for our default case we're just going to say return, i.e. basically do nothing. Okay, next after this is where our switch statement ends, this is where our while statement ends. So outside of these two, we are going to say, inside of this while we're going to return, and then outside here you're going to say responder is equal to responder dot next. Okay. Oh, and we have just a space error right there. Swift likes everything to be equally spaced, so there we go. Okay, and this is going to launch the given application, and we're done. So let's go ahead and implement these into our buttons. So for our maps pressed, we are going to want to launch app with, as we have our case down here, so maps, we're going to say maps, and to our watch, we're going to launch app with watch. Now we could easily just, store a list of applications we're going to launch in variables and then just call that variable there, but this will do the same thing equally. So let's go ahead and save this. We got iPhone X, so we're going to run this application, bring up our simulator, let the application install, Okay, and when I select the respective buttons, they should launch the respective apps. Let's go ahead and click Maps. And voila, it has launched Maps. Let's go back to our application and click Watch. And voila, it has launched the Apple Watch apps. But we're not running the simulator right now, so it's going to just close it out. But either way, that demonstrates how to launch third-party or external applications with your application. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.